Imagine this scenario for a second. You're away from home. You realize that there's a file that you left on one of your computers. Now, you know how to VPN to your home network. You know how to RDP into your home computer, but the problem is the computer's off or it's gone to sleep. For this scenario, you need somebody to press a button on the machine in order for it to wake up so you can connect to it. That's the scenario I've run into a number of times. And I've run into it. Sometimes there's somebody at home, but I just cannot get them to like touch a key on a keyboard. You know, they'll say they're too busy for it. So I am finally getting a solution in place so that no matter whether somebody's available or not, I'll be able to take care of this myself. So that's why I have in front of me what I do. Now, you probably recognize some of these things. There's a Raspberry Pi power supply. There's a Raspberry Pi CM4 that's up here. So let's move this out of the way and we're going to see what's inside the box. So this is for KVM over Internet Protocol. These are all the contents that are in the box. So we have some cables here that will be used for connection. I'll set those aside. This is an HDMI. This is an HDMI to mini HDMI cable. We have a USB-C to USB-A cable. These are some more cables. I know what these are specifically for. This is for connecting to the power button, the reset button, and a hard drive activity button on the computer itself. Now, for those that are in systems with half-height card slots, they did give me another bracket just for that. We have various screws and jumpers inside of here. And this is the key component. Taking our key component out, this is the card that's going to go in the computer. You can see where the CM4 is going to go. It is going to take up a slot in the computer, but you can also see that there's no electrical connector here. All of its power and connections are either going to come from being directly connected to switches on the board, and for the computer, or for this module itself, I can connect it via an external power supply, which is why I have this Raspberry Pi power supply. This is how I intend to have it powered. If you have a CM4 that doesn't have integrated memory, then they do provide for you an SD card slot on here. There's a place for a battery for the real-time clock. And more or less, I'm going to be able to do all of my other setup just with this board, with it being external to the computer. Let's take a look at what's inside of the other two packets. So they also gave us a cooling fan for the CM4. And I have a tiny monochrome OLED display. So next step is let's get this thing put together. So I did order the CM4 specifically for this KVM. I don't remember which one I got because I ordered this stuff. Been out of town for a while and a long project, missing lots of sleep, and so I just don't remember at this point. Okay, so I can tell from looking at it, this one does have Wi-Fi. It does have an integrated, storage, so I don't need to use the SD card slot. I don't have a Wi-Fi antenna, so I'm going to need to order one of those if I want to use this with Wi-Fi. Although the KVM does have an Ethernet adapter, so I can just also connect a second network cable to it. By the way, just showing you what these various cables are. So you see the network adapter, you see the mini HDMI, the two USB-C cables. One of those is for connecting to the computer so that it can send mouse signals and keyboard signals to it. And then the other one is just for supplying power to this device. If you use a CM4 before, then the whole thing on connecting it is probably self-explanatory. You just line up the connectors on the back of the CM4 with the slots that are on whichever Pi board that you're connecting it to. And once you have them lined up, you press it in place. Now, I can't really see the slots, so if I line it up with the screw holes, the first thing I notice is I have this lined up with the screw holes, but the slots aren't lining up on the other end. So I have this upside down. For this board, I need to orient it this way, and when I line up the screw holes now, I can see that the electrical connectors are lining up. And so with them lined up, I just press it, and I can feel it all snapping in place. And there it is. So now it's in place. I do want to connect the fan to this. So they have the fan connector covered up. So I'm going to take the cover off of that. It's a very short cable on the fan connector, but it doesn't need to be long. So you can see how the fan connector is going to be on here. And you see there's that open area there. That open area makes sure that I still have access to the Wi-Fi antenna. Once I get an antenna, I'll be able to connect it to this hole here so that it's going to be outside of the CM4. Taking a look at the screw packet, we can see that they gave me 4 long screws and 2 short screws. So they gave me more screws than I need. I actually only need 3 of the long ones. Those are going to go into the 3 holes that also line up with the fan, since it has to go through both the fan and the CM4. I only need 1 of the short ones. Now, the silver screw that's there at the top, that's for holding the card in place in computer. Probably don't need that because I already have those in the computer. And then they gave me the jumper. I'm going to be using the jumper when I write the boot code to this Pi. At any rate, I'm going to put the battery in here. I already have a battery. For those of you that are curious, it's using a CR1220. So when you put it on, it's a button battery. The part that has the circle on it is going to be facing down, and so then the flat end is going to be facing up. So I'll just put that in place. And now my real-time battery is going to be able to stay connected. I'm going to go ahead and get the display connected on this next. I speculate, well, I mean, not speculate, I'm just going to figure out where the cable goes, and let's jump straight to there. Here's your card fully assembled. Let's pick this up and take a closer look at some things. First thing I want to point out is I now have the display connected. So on the other end of this cable is an OLED display. I don't know what this does, but I'm hoping it's going to show the IP address for the card. The rainbow cable, you can see I put into the top header. If you look just at the text above the connector, it says right there 2MB. This is going to connect to the motherboard. So these are the connectors for the power switch, the reset switch, the power light, and I think the hard drive activity light. Now if you look above this lower connector, which is almost identical, it says 2 panel. So this would be connecting to whatever it is that's on your case that gives you access to those various buttons and lights. So that this is going to also be able to read whenever you press the actual power button on the computer and pass that through to the motherboard. We've got these headers that are up in the corner. I think I need to use one of these in order to get the image written to this thing. So we're going to do that in just a moment. As for what the other things on that connector do, let's take a look at the manual for a second. Here's the manual, and this manual actually does have information for the other board. I haven't said what this one is called up until now, so this is the X651. But if we look in the chart that's there in the lower left, it tells what those connectors do. So I actually have a hard time reading this text. If you have a hard time with small text, you'll not be able to read this thing directly. So get your phone out to take a picture of it. Okay, so we have a UART output on here. There's a jumper for booting this for the EMCC programming. That's what I need to do. And there's a power connector on here. Now, when I go to get this image written, I think I should just be able to connect it to one of the USB ports. Let's see which one. It looks like USB port labeled by 2 is only for power, and 3 is the data port. So it looks like I'll be connecting this to my computer with the USB port that's further away from the network connector there for writing the image. There's an operating system available for this. You can find it at pikvm.org/download. The image that you want to download is going to be the one that is labeled as being for the version 3 pre-assembled. When you're flashing this from the Raspberry Pi image manager, you'll just want to select the option that says that you're writing a custom OS, and then you can navigate to wherever you downloaded this file. And that's what you need to write to the SD card. Now once you have this thing assembled, it doesn't even have to be in your computer. You will want to power it on and connect it to a network adapter. You can either get the IP address from looking on that display, or you can look in your router to see what the IP address is. But after you type that into a browser, you'll be confronted with this login screen. The default username and password are admin and admin. Once you get signed in, the next thing is just asking you what you want to do. You can either go into the KVM, the terminal, or log out. Now, you want to go into the terminal because there's some additional settings that you want to change on it. Basically, you need to change the password. Once you get into the terminal, just type S as in Sam, use an under, space, and then a hyphen. Press enter. This will put you in super user mode. Once you're in super user mode, you want to change the root password. And you can do that by typing PASSWD space root. Now, if you start off doing that, it is actually going to fail. The reason being, when this thing boots up, it boots up mounting the file system in read-only mode. in order to be able to write to the file system, you need to change to read-write mode, which you can do by just typing RW and pressing enter. And that only works if you're logged in under super user access. Now, if you try the password change command again, it will work. Now, in addition to that command, you want to change the password for the web terminal, and you can do that with the command kvmd-ht password, or passwd space set space admin. Once you do that, you'll be prompted to enter your new password in twice because it's getting confirmation. And once you've done that, then that's all you need to set here. Type RO to change the file system back to read-only mode, and then for the most part you're good to go. I've gotten everything configured here, and so all the wires are connected to the KVM, and I'm about to start using it. So let's split the display here. What you see on one side is my computer. I've just kind of have that display hanging off in there. I haven't figured out where I'm going to secure it yet. So it's just showing the IP address right now, and the temperature of the unit, and also the network name for the unit. On the other side, you can see what things look like from my laptop. I am connected to the KVM. So first thing I'm going to do is I need to turn the computer on. The computer's off right now. You'll be able to tell that it's on because the memory in this computer lights up whenever the computer turns on, and also the fans will be moving. So going on to KVM, I'm selecting the option to press the power button for a short period of time. Yes, I'm sure I want to send this. And so you can see that the computer has turned on. In a few more seconds, and there we go, the memory is powered up. We're now getting a video signal that the device is relaying over to my laptop. Unfortunately, it takes a few seconds for it to start coming over. So if I were trying to hit the BIOS screen, I have to know to just go ahead and start pressing that button as soon as possible. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, you can see the information on the video signal. So right now, when it's booting up, it's 1280 by 70 at 60 FPS. And now here we are at the desktop. Now, I'm sorry, the login screen. I think this can go up to 50 FPS with the resolution of 1920 by 1080. It cannot go higher than that. This hardware is equivalent to the Pi KVM 3. If you needed to get a higher FPS, like 60 FPS, you want to get something that's compatible with the Pi KVM 4, but from what I've seen, that is not available in any internal form yet. But I am connected to my computer now, so I can go ahead and log in. I'm not going to let you see how many characters are in this password. And so that's it. I am logged in. If you look in the upper right hand corner, you can see some other things. Whenever I'm sending mouse signals, you see the mouse changes to green. If the mouse is idle, it'll start going back to orange, showing that the keyboard is connected. We see that it has network connection and that it's getting video signal. That's what those status indicator lights are. Of course, there's the ATX light that is blinking. That one is telling me whether or not there's hard drive activity. On my actual case, I don't have a hard drive light connected, but hey, that's being captured by the KVM. I'm halfway tempted to disable that by just unplugging the cable because I don't typically use those. I have hard drive activity usually going on all the time. And of course, we have the power button. Now, if I needed to get any information transported over to this unit, it is possible to send a file and then have it exposed as a drive. I'm not so much interested in that. My primary functionality was just to turn this thing on and off. We could also set up macros, so if there's a sequence of things I wanted to send over, it does support that functionality. It also does OCR, so if I needed to copy some text from there to here, I could do that. Now you can find more information on Pi KVM generally on the PiKVM.org website. It will show you a number of different hardware configurations. The version 1 was all about being able to remotely turn your computer on and press the reset button. With version 2, you get the ability to emulate a storage drive for transferring files. It's not until version 3 that you have HDMI capture and the ability to control that over the web. And what I am demonstrating is based off of version 3. Now, once you get to version 4, you get a slightly higher resolution, whereas version 3 is 1920 by 1080 at 25 frames per second. On version 4, you can get 1920 by 1200 at 60 frames per second. For the most part, most of the things that you see that are applicable to the version 3 will also be applicable to the Geekworm X651, the unit that I'm using. One thing that is different is, I think, for the information you find on Pi KVM, it will tell you that there's no external Wi-Fi antenna for the version 3, but the Geekworm X651 does have that. One other difference, if you were to step up to the version 4 does have video pass-through. So when I'm using version 3, I can't have an external display connected to that same port. Whereas on version 4, you would just connect that external display to the Pi KVM, and so it would capture the HDMI signal and you would still be able to view it locally. I encourage looking on the website just to figure out what the general differences are between them. But when you get to the point of making a purchase decision, I wouldn't rely on these general statements for whatever specific hardware that you're getting. You're going to have to actually look at the features of that specific hardware to make sure it's offering whatever it is that you expect. That said, I still think the website here is a general good starting point.